Good morning, everyone. It's good to see you all. I'm so excited about today. Are you excited? I've put some pictures up here for you. Moses, Aaron, his brother, and Pharaoh, the naughty guy who won't let God's people go. So just in case you weren't here last week, I want to bring you up to where we're up to. They're in Egypt, aren't they? And God has sent Moses to set the people free, but Pharaoh, or you like my mask? Pharaoh is saying, no, you are not going anywhere. So today we're going to be looking at the plagues, the 10 plagues. And we know these plagues, don't we? We've heard about it before. It's what God is going to send onto the Egyptians who are holding God's people in slavery. And they're going to be bad. But Pharaoh just has to say, okay, God, I'll let your people go. But Pharaoh won't do that. He's so stubborn. But God will always win in the end. So today we're going to be looking at 5 of the first plagues. Do you know what they are? Do you know what the whole 10 plagues are in order? Maybe I can give you homework. Try and by next week, tell your parents, and then parents message me and say, yes, my child has done it and knows them in order. The 10 plagues in order. See if you can do that. Today we're going to do 5. And we start with the Nile River, with Pharaoh. So Pharaoh, in the morning, and Moses said, remember, God said to Moses, let my people go, and Pharaoh said no. So he said, okay, now you're going to see God's devastating plague. So this is the first one. Pharaoh goes early in the morning. He goes to take a bath, or he wants to get some water. It's a big river, everyone uses it. And God says to Moses, tell Aaron to take his staff and put it in the water. What's happening there? The water turns into blood. And not only the Nile River, all the river ponds and pools and anything around where there's water turns into blood. The reason why God sent that plague is it's a devastating one. Because everyone needs to drink. Everyone needs to have a bath. And if you turn all the water into blood, then you can't. You're not going to have any water. Also, all the animals in the water are going to die. And it's going to smell bad. All the fish are going to come. It's a really, really bad plague. Do you think Pharaoh was scared? No, he should have been, but he wasn't. He's like, I have sorcerers and magicians, and I've seen them do that. Sorcerers, magicians, come to me and show Moses and Aaron that their God is not so good. And you show me. And you know what the sorcerers and magicians did? They got some water, and with some trickery, with some dye, they made it turn red. And you can see this picture, they're all laughing at Moses and Aaron. They're like, ha ha ha, we can do what you guys did. But they really didn't. It was just trickery. They should have listened to God. Stop smiling. You got no idea what's coming next from God. Don't laugh, because God's got more things in store, hasn't he? Bigger and better things than that. Worse than that. But he would not listen. So 1 week later, plague number 2. Aaron gets his staff. He points to the water, and all of a sudden frogs from everywhere come along. Thousands and thousands of frogs come out of the dirty water, stinky frogs all over the house, on people's heads, just mental everywhere. Was Pharaoh impressed? No. He calls his magicians, come on magicians, do the same thing. And I don't know how they did it, but somehow, as you can see here with the magician, he does something and sees frogs. Oh, it's a trick, because they're not God. Only God can produce frogs out of nothing. But they did also another trickery. But the frogs didn't just go away. First Pharaoh was like, oh, okay, we can produce our own frogs. But after a certain amount of time, frogs were in every Egyptian house, and they just wouldn't go away. And they kept producing more and more until Pharaoh says, all right, bring in Moses and Aaron, bring in Moses and Aaron. Oh, I'm sick of this, I'm sick of this. So he brings them in, You can see the frogs everywhere. And he's like, all right. We're sick of these frogs. Moses, tell your God to all right, I'll let your people go. Just get rid of these frogs. I'm sick to death of frogs. You know, he could be sleeping and a frog goes in his mouth. Who knows? But he's just sick of them. He says, fine. Moses, I will let you go. Just get rid of these frogs. And you can see in the picture there that all of them died and they gathered up, and look at that, they were so smelly, everything was stinky, and Pharaoh was like, oh, thank goodness they're dead. But then Pharaoh said, oh, now they're all gone, I changed my mind. You guys aren't going to go, you're going to stay here. Can you believe it? He said you can go, and as soon as God stopped the frogs, then Pharaoh's like, he hardened his heart, he's like, no, you're not going anywhere. So that was plague number 2. And Pharaoh, no. So what's coming up next? Plague number 3. Do you know what that is? We had the blood. We had the frogs. What's plague number 3? Gnats. What's gnats? Gnats are little bugs. They're like flies or mosquitoes, but they're different kind of bugs. Some of them bite. Some of them don't bite, and they hang around in big swarms. They call them a cloud of gnats. And they're just like flies, I guess. They're very, very annoying, but they bite you. Flies don't bite you, but some of these gnats bite. And they just hang around everywhere. So you can see in the next picture, from the dust of the ground, Aaron threw up all this stuff. From the dust of the ground, all these gnats started to appear and was going everywhere. But God stopped them from going to the Israelites. God just made it go to the Egyptians, which was nice of God, because he was trying to rescue the Israelites. And so they were going everywhere, and everyone's just like, can you believe these gnats? And even Pharaoh, he's sick of it. And he says, oh, get rid of these gnats. He's like, call Moses and Aaron. Call them back. I can't deal with these. The frogs were bad enough. Now I've got these gnats everywhere. Call Moses. Yes, may I help you? And he's like, you can see in the next picture, all right, stop it. We're sick of these. I will let you guys go. Yes! Woo! I will let you go. Moses and Aaron are so happy. Finally, Pharaoh, do you understand now? The blood, the frogs, now the gnats, you're finally convinced that God is in charge and what God says. So, Moses and Aaron prayed. God, please remove the gnats, and they're gone. Everyone's happy. And did Pharaoh let the people go? He changed his mind again. No! You are not going anywhere. And Pharaoh spoke to his magicians and said, well, can you do the gnats as well? The magicians were like, oh, we can't do that. So Pharaoh couldn't even count his magicians and sorcerers anymore. He was just like, what's going on? But once they stopped, he was like, you know what? No, I'm not letting them go. They're too valuable. So God sends his 4th plague. And what's that? What does God send next? Water into blood, frogs, gnats, and flies. Now we know what flies are, don't we? Where we are, flies everywhere. Flies on your nose. You know when you get a fly and it's just so itchy. You like that, and sometimes there's a fly there and you try and hit it and you're like, and you hit yourself and you miss the fly and you're so angry at the fly you just follow it around. Does that happen to you? You're just following that fly, you get the fly spray out, and then your mum or dad get angry, stop spraying the fly spray everywhere. But imagine there's hundreds and hundreds of flies. I remember one time we went to camp, Square One camp, and Daniel Olatunji had all these flies all over him. And he was so sad. He's like, I want to go home. I hate these flies. Flies can be so annoying, but imagine there was thousands and thousands. And once again, these flies didn't go on any of the Israelites and their flocks. And Pharaoh was mad. Get rid of these flies. I don't care what you do. Get rid of them. And as soon as he saw that the flies weren't going on the Israelites, he was furious. He's like, no, I'm not. See, you're going to see here in the next photo, he's talking to them. He goes, no, I'm not going to let your people go. And they said, well, we're going to keep the flies, keep going, and we're not going to get rid of them. And do you think Pharaoh was happy? What did Pharaoh do? What do you think Pharaoh did after this fourth plague of flies? Now this photo we've seen before. He got angry. No! Get out of here! You're not letting your people go. He's not thinking. Pharaoh's not thinking. He's just angry. That's what he needs to think. If God is sending all these plagues and he continues to resist God, then what do you think God's going to do? He's going to send more. How can you be angry at God? Can you ever win against God? It's impossible. Seriously, guy, just listen. Listen to God. Wow, he's so slow to learn, isn't he? Well, he's going to learn the hard way. I'm afraid. He's just going to have to learn the hard way. So Moses talks to him again. And he said, well, if you're not going to listen, then you're going to see the fifth. And it's our last one for the lesson. The fifth plague. And what's the fifth plague? This is quite a bad one. It is the livestock dying, the animals. The sheep, the cows, the horses, the bulls, whatever's there, the lambs, the goats, whatever's there was killed. Now think about this. Think about what God's doing. He took away their water. Okay, then he's taken away all their food now. So there's no food, no water. He's devastating them with frogs, making everything smelly everywhere. So everything's smelly. They can't drink, they can't eat. And it's just really, really bad at that time. God is making everything really bad for the Egyptians. And what do you think Pharaoh does? He says, yeah, you can go now. I'm going to believe in your God. No. He's still hard in his heart. And what does this picture say? Look. What is he saying? Get out of here. I'm not going to listen to your God. You can do whatever you want. But you know what? Nah. I can't believe it. He's got no water. The whole of Egypt stinks. He's got no food. He can't eat any meat. They're all dead, all damaged, and there's probably flies all over it because there's flies everywhere still. And Pharaoh is not listening. So what does Moses say? He says, this is not over. And he takes some soot. This is soot from a fireplace, and he's going to do something with this soot. He's going to produce the sixth plague. But you know what? That's next week. So you're going to have to know, what does he do with this soot? What is going to be the sixth plague? Is Pharaoh going to listen after 6 plagues? Is he going to listen after 7? Is he going to listen after 8? Is he going to listen after 9? Is he going to listen after 10? You're going to have to come back next week to see what the next 5 plagues are. But I want you to read ahead and find out, what does this soot turn into for the 6th plague? And then what are the rest of the plagues after that? So we've learned, if you do not listen to God, bad things happen. It is always the best thing to listen to God, isn't it? So I hope to see you next week for the next 5 plagues, and we're going to see what they are, and we're going to be excited about them, and we're going to see eventually God rescuing his people. So come back next week for that, and you have a good day. Bye-bye.